Morning motor cars. It is Friday, November 9th. Getting a little bit chilly out there now, heading into Thanksgiving season. All the leaves are changing and falling just as quick as they can. Anniversaries this weekend on the 11th at the body shop. We have Michael Palumbo. And birthdays this weekend in Honda Service, Caitlin Moon, and in Toyota Internet Sales, Scott Hitchcock. So happy birthday and happy anniversary to everybody. Let's see. On this date in history, in 1872, a fire in Boston destroyed hundreds of buildings and killed 14 people. In 1938, German Nazis launched a campaign of terror against Jewish people in Germany and Austria. Dubbed Kristallnacht, or the Night of Broken Glass, it left 100 Jews dead, 7,500 Jewish businesses damaged, and hundreds of synagogues, homes, schools, and graveyards vandalized. 30,000 Jewish men were arrested for nothing at all, and many of those were sent to concentration camps. Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels ordered German stormtroops to carry out violent riots disguised as spontaneous demonstrations against Jewish citizens. Local police and fire departments were told not to interfere. In the face of all the devastation, some entire families committed suicide. Kristallnacht represented a dramatic escalation of the campaign started by Adolf Hitler to purge Germany of its Jewish population. In the days that followed, the fascists seized Jewish businesses and stole the insurance money from the ones that they had destroyed, eventually culminating in the Holocaust. In the end, 6 million Jews, 10 million Russians, 1.8 million Polish citizens, 312,000 Serbs, 250,000 people with disabilities, 220,000 gypsies, 1,900 Jehovah's Witnesses, and as many as 70,000 gay and other antisocial people were killed. And that's why fascist is still a dirty word around the world. In 1965, the biggest power failure in U.S. history, all of New York State, plus parts of 7 other states and much of Canada's eastern seaboard plunged into darkness during rush hour on this day. 800,000 people were trapped in New York subways, and thousands of others were trapped in elevators, trains, and office buildings. Altogether, 30 million people were affected. 9 months later, there was a sizable uptick in births. Also in 1965, Roger Laporte, a 22-year-old member of the Catholic worker movement, sat down in front of the UN building in New York and set himself on fire to protest the Vietnam War. He was the second young person to do so that week. In 1970, the Supreme Court refused to rule on whether or not the Vietnam War was legal. The state of Massachusetts argued that, since war had never been formally declared, no one legally had to go fight. 1989, East Germany opened the Berlin Wall and residents tore it down the following day, signaling the end of the Soviet Union's rule of Eastern Europe, something that Putin is trying to reverse. Factoids. The first Thanksgiving took place in Florida, not Plymouth Rock. It was celebrated by Spanish explorers led by Pedro Menendez de Avillas and the Timcuqua tribe. They dined on bean soup. Humans have more brain cells at the age of 2 than at any other time in their lives. Gosh, that explains a lot, doesn't it? Adult brains consist of 60% fat, making them one of the fattest organs in the human body. Let's see. In Kentucky, it's against the law to carry ice cream in your back pocket. I wonder how that would even work. It's perfectly legal for women to walk around topless in Hawaii, Texas, Ohio, New York, and Maine, but not recommended. In 1976, Ronald Wayne sold his 10% stake in Apple for $800. If he had kept it today, it would be worth $100 billion. It is currently estimated that there are more than 1 trillion web addresses. To date, Google has only indexed about 60 billion of them. That means that most of what's out there still can't be found on Google. The biggest opponents to legalize marijuana, and I don't buy myself, but I thought this was an interesting fact, are beer and alcohol producers. Apparently they don't want competition. In Ohio, it's illegal to get a fish drunk. In Nevada, it's against the law to hunt camels, even if you can find one. They should have used that one in Michigan when I was a kid. I remember people shooting all kinds of things saying that they were deer. And now I'd like to introduce 2 new interns that we have down here at the BDC. Have a good weekend, motor cars.
Hi, my name is Ebony. We're in BDC. I'm 28 and I never worked for motor cars, nothing with cars, but I'm learning and I like it. And I'm here to help and get information and to learn. And if anything I can help you out with, feel free to reach to BDC.
name's Cordell Welch. 22. I never worked at a dealership before. It's the first time. The customer service since I was 14. If you need any help, feel free to reach me at BDC.